Several quick reminders about the mechanics. Please silence your cell phones. Raise your hand if you have trouble hearing. It's our tradition to treat members, guests, and ideas with courtesy and to respond thoughtfully, whether we find them appealing or not. The City Club is a great place for lively but rational discourse, which makes for great radio too. Ready? All right. Welcome, members and guests, to the April 8th program of the City Club of Eugene, candidate forum for Eugene Mayor. I'm James Baldock, City Club President. Our sponsors today are AARP of Oregon. AARP of Oregon is a trusted and positive force for social change using the experience and leadership of our volunteer members to benefit all Oregonians as we age. KLCC 89.7 FM is NPR for Oregonians, and Evans, Elders, and Brown, Inc. Our reputation as a successful and effective commercial and real estate company has been built on a foundation of hard work, integrity, and the highest levels of professionalism. Special thanks go to KPFF Consulting Engineers for supplying our office space, and to KLCC Radio for airing these programs at 6:30 on Monday nights, and for archiving the podcast on our website. We'd also like to thank Community Television of Blaine County for televising recent City Club programs Monday through Saturday at noon and Sunday at 9 p.m. We host nearly 50 original nonpartisan issue programs every year. Today is our 25th program in our 2015-2016 programming year. If you believe with us that civic engagement is the lifeblood of democracy, please join us. We welcome anyone who has a stake in community life. And now to the program. This is the second of 8 scheduled forums intended to provide Lane County voters the opportunity to learn more about their candidates running for several contested races in the May 17th primary election. This series of events are presented by the City Club of Eugene, the League of Women Voters of Lane County, the League of United Latin American Citizens of Lane County, the Eugene Springfield National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Wayne Morris Family Farm, AARP of Oregon, Springfield City Club, Wildish Community Theater, and several neighborhood associations, including the Jefferson West Side Neighbors and Southeast Neighbors. We clearly have a lot of community involvement in these issues. Today's moderator is Tiffany Eckert. Tiffany has been a news reporter with KLCC NPR since 2008. Her reporting focuses on health and Metro Beach, and she'll introduce the program.
Welcome, everyone. The League of Women Voters of Lane County do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The League works to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation in government and to act on selected governmental issues. The rules for today's forum are as follows. The debate will begin with an opening statement by each candidate for a maximum of 1 minute. See the timekeepers? There they are. Following the opening statement in the first session, there will be questions from the moderator and questions which were submitted by the sponsors of this debate. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. There will be no scheduled rebuttals. However, if clarifications are needed, the moderator will request them. The second portion of the forum will consist of questions from the audience, which will be vetted by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question. There will be no rebuttal. There are 3x5 cards available around the room. Please write your question on the card and hold them in the air. A volunteer will come by to pick them up. If you need a card, raise your hand and a volunteer will provide you with one. Please note there will be no break for question writing, so do pay attention to what questions have already been asked to avoid redundancy. We'll be closing this program with candidates receiving 1 minute for a closing statement. Audience, please hold your applause for your candidates during this forum so we can address every question in a timely way. However, you may clap for all at the beginning and the end. Candidates have drawn numbers to determine who will answer the first question, and they sit in that order. However, I'd like you to welcome these candidates, and I'm naming them in the order of alphabetical. So indicate yourself when I say your name. Mike Clark, Bob Cassidy, Scott Landfield, Stefan Strek, and Lucy Dennis. You guys ready? This is a question to test the capacity of each of you for professional praise and constructive criticism. One of you will be elected to become Eugene's next mayor, replacing Kitty Piercy, who's held the office for 3 terms. What is one of Mayor Piercy's accomplishments that you most admire? And which one of Mayor Piercy's platforms or policies would you change or improve upon? Explain why and how. We're starting with Lucy Bennett. Oh, I apologize. Let's do that first. Yes.
It's a good question.
So Lucy, go ahead.
There we go.
It is a good question. Please forgive me. I'm coming and going. I'm doing my opening statement first. And good afternoon. I am running for mayor because Eugene has been a place where my family was able to live well and to thrive. And I believe this can be a community where everyone can live well. In my 25 years in Eugene, I have devoted myself to community issues, working on school funding and providing opportunities for students to have experiences outside of their school classrooms. I've worked on environmental, agricultural, and sustainability issues in our community, our state, and in our region. And I have worked on poverty and homelessness issues, most recently with my work for shelter care. My background in nonprofits is excellent experience for the role of mayor. The mayor's key job is to bring people together to understand and move forward on critical issues. This is the work I have done for 25 years. And I am the only candidate with the skills and experience to bring businesses, nonprofits, community members, and public agencies together to work on the issues ahead. Thank you.
Good everybody, my name is Stefan Strek, and I was born in Worcester, Massachusetts. I moved here from Athens, Georgia. I love Eugene, Oregon. I think that we have the best city on earth. I've been all over the world. I went to Australia to visit families, and then I went to Europe to see people I met in Australia. And that's what I told everybody, that Eugene's the best city on earth. You can do more stuff here than anywhere else on earth. We have things that no place else has. And everybody that I've talked to, except for one person, they recognize that. And eventually, I've shown them that I'm right on this matter. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you being here today. And my platform is to help people and animals. That's the main agenda that I'm establishing. Because helping people is very complicated, but helping animals is relatively easy. And helping animals also helps people, because we have so many people on the street that have animals that need help. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Clark, and I'm running for mayor. I'm doing so largely for the same reasons that I have served on the council for the last 10 years. I'm proud and I'm lucky, I think, to have 2 amazing teenage kids. And this is the only city they're going to grow up in. I think I can help make it a better place for them and for everybody's kids to grow up in. Because everyone's kids, I think, deserve the same chance that mine have had for the kind of place like this, an ideal place to grow up. And I believe that if I have the capacity to help and to do something positive in our community, that I have a duty to try and do that. So today, I will subject myself to all the questions you have and try and convince you that I think the generational decisions we have to make in the next couple of years are important, and we need someone with the experience to do so well. Thank you.
Bob Cassidy, City Club member. My personal background you will see in this flyer. If you don't already have it, there are some in the lobby. I got into this campaign over 2 years ago because I wanted to really continue the excellent work that Kitty has done breaking down the ideological partisanship that we had in the council at that time. She's really done an excellent job of that. I would really like to see that sort of thing happen. I would like to see a better dialogue among the councilors. I'd like to see them more involved in setting the agendas for the meetings, the president and the vice president involved in that, and even running the meetings. I think that's a very important thing, and I'd like to see you ask questions about that so I can talk about it more.
Scott Manfield here. I moved to Eugene in 1978. I was a tree planter for about 20 years and a bookstore owner for the past 20 years. My intention is, this is my campaign I would call a referendum, to bring up some platforms, planks of a platform that other people aren't bringing up. Campaign finance reform on a local level, the transition of our present form of government to something maybe a little more mature. Of course, little things like Kesey Square, big things like neighborhood rights. I'm very excited about what I've seen so far. Somebody said that it's the 3 GERS, which is growing grassroots groundswell, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of it.
Thank you. Now, since you heard the question already, let me just quickly ask, what is one of Mayor Piercy's accomplishments that you most admire, and which one of Mayor Piercy's platforms or policies would you change or improve upon? Explain why and how. Susie.
Thank you for that question. I most admire Mayor Piercy's perseverance and success in revitalizing our downtown. I think it's been a phenomenal accomplishment, and she did that in the midst of the worst economic recession since the Depression. And here we have the beginnings of really a thriving and promising downtown. The frustrating issue that the mayor has addressed, and I am proud to be a Eugenian for the efforts that we have made on behalf of the homeless in our community. It is an ongoing, gnarly struggle to address the levels of homelessness and poverty in our community. It is frustrating, and it is a cautionary tale for me coming out of shelter care and stepping into this mayor's race to take that one on, but I promise to take that one on. Stefan.
On a very similar note, what I do appreciate most about what Kitty Piercy's done is making an effort to steer the conversation towards helping homelessness in our community. Because there's a lot of people who are very upset with the homeless in our town, and you know they do cause some pretty serious problems, and that's reflected by people's outspoken voices about this, and you know some city councilors voted against the homeless in the past. And, you know, I think that to change this direction, we need to recognize that these people are not travelers. It's not that everyone's coming in from Springfield. We don't need to build a wall between Eugene and Springfield to keep out all of their homeless people just because they choose to, you know, not let people give money on the street. We need to actually tackle this situation here in town because these people do live here. I lived here for 17 years, and there's a lot of these homeless people in town. They've lived here longer than I have, and they've been homeless. They've been on the street, and they do need help. Thank you.
There are a number of things that Mayor Piercy has led, a number of efforts that she's led that I admire, but the thing I think I admire most about the mayor is more of a personal thing. The mayor's been incredibly accessible. I think more so than any mayor we've had in the past. She decided a long time ago, rather than to throw her office open for an hour a month, to let anybody come in and talk, as was done previously, to go out into the community and to appear in her mayor's one-to-one campaign. And it's been incredibly available for members of our community, and it's something that should be continued. The thing that I would say I would do differently is not that big of a difference. I think our community is ready for a subtle change of emphasis. I think that's how I would describe it. There is a lot of good work that our council's done in the last few years, but we are ready, I think, for a subtle shift in what we emphasize and spend the most time on. Thank you.
Bob Cassidy here. What I really liked about Kitty working with the council was that she would involve them in the discussion, and at some point she would stop and say, "This is what I'm hearing," and she would repeat what the councilors said, and then say, "You've got to work this out." She turned it over to them. It really is the council that is leading the city, not just the mayor. The one-on-one conferences that she had with people at the grocery stores, as Mike had mentioned, has really been outstanding. I think she's done very well.
Yes, 12 years. And I remember early on, she helped settle a strike with the bus drivers, I think it was. And that was an important moment. She did a real good job. I was pleased with that. I was very pleased with what she did with Civic Stadium, and when it was a tie vote, she didn't break the tie. She brought them back to the board and worked on consensus, which is a lot more important than one vote. Problems I've had with her, one thing I'm seeing is there needs to be term limits. I'm in part at fault for that. I would not be breaking ties as a mayor. I would be bringing people back to the table. One tie that was broke cost me $20,000 in hospital bills, which is one of the reasons I'm running.
Thank you. These are questions from sponsors. Proposals across the community, from rezoning for the South Willamette Street area to the Oakley Meadow co-housing, has divided community members and elected officials. As mayor, how would you lead the city council forward in the adoption of the Envision Eugene Comprehensive Plan? Starting with Lucy.
Thank you for that question. I feel that the core issue around South Willamette and any other changes associated with the Envision Eugene process have to do around communication and engagement. And my proposal for this is that I feel that as these processes move forward, it is to continue the communication loop back with the neighborhoods. When the Envision Eugene was moving into a zone change for Willamette, the staff is working hard on that proposal, but the neighborhoods don't necessarily feel that they're a part of that. That becomes sort of dark. So when it reappears, it's new information. I would work to provide a monthly dashboard reporting back to neighbors where we are on a specific project. I think there is common ground now on reducing the scope, reducing the height of buildings, and encouraging neighbors on the setbacks. I have walked the Willamette area, and I think there's room to discuss how we move forward on that, and the key is how we circle around in communication.
So, I have lived all over Eugene. I've lived on 29th and Willamette, 46th and Willamette, or 46th and West Amazon. I live downtown now. I've lived there for 3 years. I went to Churchill High School. I went to Pleasant Hill. I rode my bike 30 miles in from out of town just to be in South Eugene and experience that neighborhood, because my favorite people and my favorite part of town is South Eugene. And I think that the aspects of South Eugene should be appreciated. They should be modeled by other neighborhoods. Accessibility to parks, accessibility to shopping, businesses, quality food. This is all really important for walkable neighborhoods and increasing livability. Trying to forcibly make the people who live in this neighborhood go with a plan that they don't want, that they haven't been allowed input on, is really wrong. I've been really offended by this the whole way through. seeing these signs go up and being able to recognize that none of these people's voices are being heard. Thank you.
I'm going to pick up exactly where my friend left off because he's right. That's one of the subtle changes that we need of emphasis at City Hall, and that's part of this, is because for too long, we have had an attitude at the majority of council that the job of council is to teach people how to live properly. And it's fundamentally wrong. The council's job, and more specifically the mayor's job, is to facilitate what the community wants to see accomplished. And as I walked the neighborhoods the other day with Ralph McDonald, with Christine Sutton, with other neighborhood leaders in the area, you can hear in the comments about the parts that concern them about what will be done. The complete lack of input on the ground that they were given the opportunity to give our staff before the plan was developed. That's a fundamental disconnect. I'm not faulting the staff, but it comes and it starts at the top from people in charge in the leadership position who feel that their job is to help show other people how to live properly. Thank you.
Bob Cassidy here. We need to have a major change in how we get the vision of the community to the city council. What we've been doing has not been working well. We haven't really involved the people in the pre-planning. Some of it is the process that the staff is using on how they're making decisions. There are a number of things. We have to rethink that whole business of how we get the information from the community for envisioning our future.
Was a great first question. Everybody is kind of moving the discussion along. I would just say that I'm hearing a lot of good things. I think the process needs to be slowed down. People working around computer models, it's wonderful that we have them as our staff, but they are not directional. And if they don't understand that, we have to call them out once in a while and explain it to them. The Good Samaritan Home, we had 350 citizens from the neighborhood stand up and basically tell them back to the drawing board. We just need to look at the back to the drawing board part of Eugene in a little more open, positive way. It's not a bad thing, thinking things through a little longer. We're making a lot of progress in places. Downtown's a great example. Civic Stadium's a great example. YMCA is a great example. How we progress with the homeless. How we take our time and move through, don't just railroad, but move as an intelligent community is real important.
Thank you. Immigrants and other minorities face racial profiling and implicit and unconscious bias, which can become a public safety issue for these groups. What types of actions or policies related to this aspect of public safety would you support to protect minority populations? Lucy Bennett, start.
Thank you. This is a critical question, and the first thing I would say is that this is an issue for all of us. We are accustomed to living in a more homogeneous society, and it is changing. And that change begins with each of us in terms of valuing the diversity that new communities bring to us. For the police, I know that there is work to be done and that they are doing work around why people are stopped in traffic, for instance. One of the issues around profiling is people being stopped, feeling that because they look Latino or Black, they are stopped more frequently than the rest of us are stopped, and that's an issue for our police to work on, calculating those stops. And then what follows is diversity training and a different cause for responding in the community. But it starts with us, and we can create that landscape in which people feel welcome and their contributions are valued.
Stefan Strek.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Of course. Immigrants and other minorities face racial profiling and implicit and unconscious bias, which can become a safety issue for these groups, what types of actions and policies related to this aspect of public safety would you support to protect minority populations?
Well, minority populations are important. I recently learned that Eugene has a shockingly low percentage of minority populations. Our town is about 90% white identifying, about 6% African American, or 6% Latino and 3% African American. Those are very low ethnic numbers. And yes, it makes sense to look at areas where people are targeted unfairly. I myself was stopped for riding a bike. It's hard to have a nice bike in this town. Nice bikes get stolen, so I ride a really beat up, really funny looking bike. So I was stopped by the police because they thought my bike was stolen, 8 in the morning on my way to work. And I'm just minding my own business. And this is the same situation where, you know, because they're making these random stops, when I'm at the laundromat and there's a, you know, homeless person high on heroin, you know, passed out, and the manager's literally trying to drag them out the door, but they can't do stuff like that, and the police don't show up. So it's a budgeting issue. Thanks.
This is the perfect question to reflect on the importance of experience. For the last 8 years, I've sat on the police commission. The current head of LULAC and I developed together, while he sat on there as well, the most recent bias-free stops policy that the chief adopted. We have a dual effort that's taking place with the police force right now. One of them is the bias-free policy change to make sure that we're never stopping people from a profiling perspective, but always from all the legal perspectives that the officers have at their disposal. We're also collecting data on, the police are collecting data on the kinds of folks they're stopping so we can measure over the course of time. Are we stopping some populations disproportionately or aren't we? This is the sort of work that the police commission then goes back and reviews. Is it working? Do we need to make some changes? But our intent is right, and the details are things that I've been working on for years. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Mike Clark. Bob Cassidy.
I have been a member of the NAACP for over 50 years. We've been working on this kind of problem nationally and locally for many of those years. The organization in town called We the People, we are now putting together a program that will come up in about June that deals with this issue. Training the police should be getting kind of definition of what is excessive force, things like that. We should be looking forward to it.
And Scott Landfield.
Well, I want to thank Mike in particular for what he just said. And I would suggest that in my view of changing the government, I would look toward full-time counselors eventually, and I don't know what we call them at that point, coordinators, but I've often saw that Mike would be an awesome full-time coordinator at the table to work with public safety here in this town. He's got a lot of experience and he's well respected there. I just briefly know Pete Kearns, and he seems to be a really fine gentleman. The times I have come to know him, he was a wide open guy. I think he was born and raised here, which means a lot. I do believe we need to have police chief born and raised in this town. I look forward to working closely with him, lunch once a week in Kesey Square, but otherwise, to talk about what we can do. You know, I will have a learning curve, but I'm confident. Most of my life I have worked with minorities as the minority in the group, so I do have some experience with that.
Thank you very much. You're listening to KLCC NPR for Oregonians. We enter the second half of the Eugene Mayoral Candidates Forum, sponsored by the City Club of Eugene and the League of Women Voters. I'm Tiffany Eckert. The candidates here are Mike Clark, Bob Cassidy, Scott Landfield, Stefan Strek, and Lucy Bennett. We're now going to audience questions, and we will be directing them to individual candidates in the interest of time and to get as many of these out as possible. So I'd like to begin with this question, and I'd like to direct this to Scott Landfield. How would you reprogram the city budget to address climate change? Be specific.
That's what I'm gonna fail on. I believe in buses myself. I believe in bicycle paths running adjacent to major streets everywhere in town. I really like the fact that we have bicycle bridges here more per capita than any town in America. I like those directions. EMX is good as a starting spot, but well, how do I get a bus when I'm 82, 3 blocks off the street? That's real important, making that convenient. I rode on Coburg Road the other day. It took me 40 minutes to get from Sheldon to the bridge with no accidents. So I would really be pointing budget towards public transportation in a friendly way, a new concept.
Thank you, Scott. And this question I'd like to direct to Lucy Dennis. What specific actions would you take as mayor to champion Eugene as a human rights city, ensuring the protection and dignity of our LGBTQ community, Latinos, Black, unhoused, and other community members? Specific actions.
The first specific action, I believe, relates to homelessness, which adversely affects, the many across our community, and accessing housing can be very difficult for minorities of any sort. And I think we have to decriminalize homelessness. We need to make it possible for people to sleep legally, and thereby stabilizing people's lives and providing equal opportunity. I think, secondly, we're looking at, young people coming out of a transgender or LGBTQ community struggling in school and struggling for opportunities. And I think that again, I believe this is something that we share as a community, and I think our stepping forward and in being open to opportunities for those young people will make a difference.
Thank you. Mike Clark, I'd like to also ask you this question. Same question. Pardon me? Yes. What specific actions would you take as mayor to champion Eugene as a human rights city, ensuring the protection and dignity of our LGBTQ community, as well as Latino, Black, unhoused, and other community members?
Thank you very much for that question. I'm proud to say that I voted in favor of something here at council just recently that we added to the list of protections, to the list of classes that are protected, a very specific addition for transgender folks. That was added here, I think, I want to say it was about 8-9 months ago. I'm not entirely certain on the date there. Somebody would have to look that up. But we added them as a protected class to all of the ordinances that pertain to treating people fairly with the City of Eugene government. That was something I was proud to be a part of, because we should be, if we're a community and a nation of laws, we must treat people equally before the law, and that includes making specific mention of those we intend to protect and treat equally when they have suffered disproportionately until now. And so I think all of those that you mentioned should be treated in that way, as we did just recently at council.
Thank you. Bob Cassidy, this is a question for you. What is your experience in administration, grants, management, and implementing policy?
As we'll say on my flyer, the work at EWIP is the most immediate one here as commissioner. I really enjoyed that work. I've been involved in administration with credit unions for over 50 years. That involved teaching people how to run meetings in various boards all over the state and in Africa. It's a whole process of doing governance that is really processes that you use for something like this are very critical.
Thank you. Stefan Strek, do you remember that question? I'd like to hear your answer to it. Of course. What is your experience in administration, grants, management, and implementing policy?
Well, specifically, I have a lot of experience with grants and management and implementing policy. When I was growing up, I was told my whole life that college was a guaranteed thing and stuff like that. It happens to a lot of people that policy didn't exactly pan out as intended, and I had to pursue a less traditional, a less traditional route to make the system work. I had to go to Washington, D.C., talk to the Treasury, in order to get my funds properly located and distributed, because there's a lot of paperwork involved with these government things, and they do it right. And that's important to know, that you can find someone that knows how to take care of all this government work, because it takes a lot of phone calls, a lot of paperwork, a lot of emails, and a lot of time. And you need to find someone that's really committed to spending the right amount of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Lucy, this is for you. What will you do to build a strong sense of trust between the city and the neighborhood?
Thank you for that question. I have a proposal that as mayor, I would release every month a State of the City dashboard that would list the 5 or 6 key issues. So neighborhood changes would be included in that. South Willamette would be included with that. That dashboard would be in the newspaper, on the website, released to the public in as many ways as I can, and it would give the public an update on where we stand on that issue, where it is with staff, what are the questions being resolved, when it is coming back for public engagement, what kinds of opportunities the public has. My goal is twofold. In order to develop that dashboard, I, as the mayor, would be meeting with all of the city councilors every month and with city staff to make sure we all understand where we are on any given project so there are no surprises. And then I will be relating to the public with that complete feedback loop. So it will be consistent, predictable information, and anything that I don't list, the public can contact me and say, what about X? And I can have that information.
Thank you, Lucy. This is a question from Mike Clark. Would you like to follow up?
I wouldn't mind having the same one, but I'll be happy to do it.
Please do. Would you work to expand the UGB?
Boy, we can do those two real quick. Let's do the first one. Communication is obviously critical, obviously, and I like those ideas. Those are good. We should do that so that there's a constant set of feedback. But more importantly than that, what you have to do is recognize that all of our citizens have rights, and the first job of government is to protect them. That's another way that you increase trust, which was the question, is to respond appropriately when you hear citizens object. That's what I did. I made a motion to protect R1 housing when it came to the South Willamette Special Area Zone, because those citizens were being taken advantage of. They were being told, this is going to be forced on you and you have no voice and you have no choice. And that's fundamentally wrong. Would I expand the UGB? I think the council should look at, I think we're going to have to. I know that's not something anyone wants to hear. But if we do, and that's a council decision, it should be slowly, incrementally, and in very small margin over a very long time, not during Envision Eugene. Thank you.
This question is for Scott Lansdale. There's a proposal to have a year-round farmers market. What are your positions and thoughts on this?
Well, I've done a lot of that most of my life, and I love it. I think if we have funds for it, fine, we'll look carefully at it. I'm not into using urban renewal money for that. I think we can come up with other ideas. I think that the organic growers in Eugene and in Lane County, that's an untapped, that's a huge industry that we're not recognizing or showing enough respect for. And I will do everything I can. I'll be out there picking beans as mayor, and I will be trying to bring the council out to get their hands in the earth a little bit. I will be working with the city planning staff, trying to get them shovels out there in the gardening, just to give them a little idea of what we're really doing there. We have a great ability to feed ourselves here. That's one of the reasons people want to come here from all over the world, and it's probably, to me, the best reason.
Thank you. I'd like each of you to touch on answer this question, starting with Lucy Dennis. How would you answer the public's questions or concerns about the proposed City Hall?
Good question. This is a perfect example of when this monthly dashboard would be extremely helpful, that we're not feeling like we're in the dark. And one of the problems with being in the dark is we develop a separate narrative that may or may not be connected to what actually is happening. So I think more forthcoming, reliable, and consistent information about City Hall. I also want to say that the kind of shifting landscape, so to speak, around the City Hall, that, you know, coming out of the nonprofit world, the parallel here is that the mayor is like the president of the board of directors, and the council is like the board, and the city manager is like the executive director. And in that concept, you know, at any given time, that executive director has to be accountable to that board of directors where big money is involved. You cannot, the staff cannot get out ahead of the board, and that's the same with this issue.
Thank you. Stefan?
Yeah. So, the whole new city hall project really offends me. I don't like that they wasted all of this money on this building. And I don't like what's going up around it either. The way they sold off that spot of land to a Whole Foods market, that's not right. We have so many good local organic markets. And I know that the city didn't approach any of those store owners, business owners, and say, hey, we'd like to expand local business. That should have been a priority. And I don't want to be up in my nice new corner office next year looking out over Whole Foods market, because I don't think that represents Eugene. I would have preferred to see a nice new Sundance or the Kiva expanded. So far as, yeah, that's spot on. Every time I see that, it reminds me of how much money the government wastes on unnecessary projects. And the excuse earthquake safety, I've lived here for 17 years and I haven't felt a single earthquake. I'm willing to risk it. And thank you.
Of course. How would you answer the public's questions about the proposed City Hall?
I would say that, first of all, this council will decide on Monday and has not yet decided to spend the extra money to ensure the higher standard of earthquake survivability. And frankly, I got to be honest with you, if what we're talking about is a 9 earthquake, if we have a 9 earthquake and everyone's house is falling down, what in the world is the council going to do? I mean, why should City Hall still be up and your schools and everybody's houses are down? At that point, we want the National Guard and we want firefighters and police officers, and we can meet at the fire station. Thank you very much. You know, I have to say that I know this is some of my colleagues in here are probably going to get angry, but for years I pitched the idea that we should buy the eWeb admin building and that should be our new City Hall, because we'd have spent half the money, we'd have had twice the space, and we'd had a footprint to develop for years, and right there on our riverfront is where the center of our community really is anyway. And I still think I was right.
Thank you. Bob Cassidy?
Very good. That's part of my platform. Some of us have been working to try to get the eWeb building used as the City Hall. It's right across the river from our central park. I mean, what could it look like New York City? It's going to be sold or rented. Why not have the city take possession of that building right along the beautiful site along the river? You never noticed that you heard about a vote in the the city council about not doing that? What kind of management we've got here? I mean, that's process of looking at these kind of things. Thank you.
And Scotland.
Again, we would make one fine mayor. Which is one reason why we need to change the management overall of the city into the nicest, well-built round table on the West Coast, you know, artisan built here in town. It has its own history. We don't have any more money at the moment for additions to the city hall. We need to know what's going on right there. There are no ballot measures. We're going to have the largest turnout in the history of Eugene in November. There is not a single ballot measure. All these multi-million dollar decisions that are being made on a daily basis downtown, we've got to slow this stuff down. We've got to start referring it to the people, maybe not for the decision, but for their honest opinions. I like Lucy's idea that the ballot measure is a step beyond that.
Thank you. This is a question directed to Lucy Bennett. What will you do to bring key stakeholders together to create and build a visual arts cultural center or museum? And there's a second part to this, if you would like. Would you support 2% for arts for all building construction projects? 2%.
2%. I don't know about that percent. I would certainly support 8%. It's a good idea. I'm not sure where that percent would come out. I would love to see the city of Eugene have its own art museum. I would love to see perhaps a negotiation with the Jordan Schnitzer about having a downtown art museum. Maybe that collaboration would help us realize that. We are a community of such incredible artists, and they are so dedicated to our community, and coming from a nonprofit that was supported by an arts benefit every year, I can tell you how generous they are with sharing their art, and we need to circle back around and provide more venues for them and more support for them. So I would love to have a blue ribbon commission, a committee that we would get together, businesses, the Schnitzer Gallery owners, people, Lane Arts Council, of course, folks that are involved to collaborate on some ideas.
Thank you. Bob Cassidy, this is for you. Currently, the city is investigating the feasibility of a train quiet zone through downtown Eugene. What are your thoughts on this issue?
My immediate thoughts are that the process that we are looking at right now is going to be very expensive and long drawn out. There is a suggestion, and it's being used up in Salem, to direct the horns of the trains right along the tracks. That doesn't eliminate the noise completely, but it reduces it enough so that it will frighten people who will want to commit suicide there. But it would suffice to tone down the noise in the city, and it would be much less expensive and much more immediate to put in, just directing the horns on the train down the tracks instead of out into the community.
Thank you. Stefan Strek, what are your ideas to help end or abolish any form of sex trafficking and human trafficking through Lane County?
Well, sex trafficking and any form of sex trafficking in Lane County is brought on by problems with the highways. A lot of this comes in from Portland, and then up from LA and California. Las Vegas is another highway. We need better oversight about what's going on in the city on the street level. I would like to promote an organization that would help provide training for women of the community to receive self-defense and lessons and possibly equipment such as, I know that pepper spray is provided, but tasers are really what's important for people to be able to defend themselves. And that's what bring these girls, these women into these situations is they're being victimized. And a way to defend yourself is a good way to not be a victim. I was hit really hard in the back of the head behind 7-Eleven when I was a kid. And it was a 100-pound girl saved my life with the taser. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a question here that is directed to Mike Clark. However, I would like to hear from each of the candidates. We can begin with you, though, Mike. Do you support or oppose using property tax exemption programs such as and the multiple unit property tax exemption to encourage development?
Absolutely not. Not to encourage development, no. It's a good tool for trying to get more housing in the one zone that exists downtown, but it's not fair. It's necessary because otherwise nothing's ever going to get built. And it's a plain and simple fact that it's unaffordable to do so because it's more expensive to build downtown. One of the other parts of that problem is we as a community have decided a long time ago that we want everything to say about everything that gets built. And as a result, that makes it a lot more expensive too. So, there's a way for us to not need MUFTI at all. We could make it easier and less regulatory to rebuild things. And we wouldn't need it at all. And that's my preference. But while it is overly expensive to build downtown, and we want more people to live downtown so we can build up in the core, we have to have some kind of incentive to make it affordable to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy?
Thank you. MUFTI is a tool. It is a tool that enables us to direct building in specific areas. The City Council has invested a lot of time, the city staff made probably a dozen changes to the MUFTI. It should not be used for student housing anymore. I think we all agree on that. We have plenty of that. We do have a new, very exciting proposal from Rogue Ales that I think would add much needed downtown housing, and it's worth considering and review. I also know that in the Bethel development plan, they are looking at MUFTI as a tool to redevelop some parts of Bethel. So I think it's a very important tool. It needs to be used judiciously, judged on a case-by-case basis. We will see how the revised tool works in terms of oversight and making sure that we get the public benefit that we want. But the city doesn't have a lot of tools, and that's one of them.
Thank you. Stefan?
Could you read it once again, please?
Do you support or oppose using property tax exemption programs such as MUFTI to encourage development?
Well, I really do, but I think that MUFTI is not a very mature plan. It was put in deceptively, and it does not reflect the values and the goals of the people of Eugene. If you own a home in Eugene and you want to expand, say, in your basement or just have a second unit, you have to pay a $10,000 fee before you can even start construction. And to waive that fee for people who are building 100-unit buildings that look ugly as sin is wrong. So what could be done is, small tax exemptions to promote local homeowners to improve their homes so that they can possibly rent out and make extra space for retirement. It makes a lot of sense. And other towns, they go on a model of design. They go for a theme. And I think that motivating developers to go for a craftsman-style theme when they're building new developments would help Eugene look a lot more classy. Thank you.
Bob Cassidy?
As Lucy said, it is a tool, and can be a very good tool. Portland has used it very well. We've achieved a great deal of student housing for the university by the use of that. We've almost overbuilt on the housing for that. We need to be able to use it. We need to stop it right now and assess where we are, how much more we're going to use it. We need to have clawback provisions that the city can enforce when it's not being done correctly.
Thank you. Scott Lansdale?
Well, everybody spoke well. Bob said it right on the nail on the head for me. It is a good tool that we need to put in the shed for now. We gotta rework things. For instance, you can demolish 5 houses in 4 hours and put them in a landfill. Just get yourself a permit. Do it in 5 hours. I've seen it happen. We've got no demolition worked into the codes. We've got no green roof requirements worked into the codes. We got to go back to city planning and get these things for an ideal city set into our processes before we can start offering people things. The other thing is 40,000 people in the next 20 years. It's going to be a lot more the way things are going. People want to come here. If a developer can't make that pencil out, we don't need that developer.
Thank you. It's time for closing statements, and in the interest of brevity, let's start with Lucy Dennis.
Thank you. I am a lifelong progressive who has worked hard to earn the endorsements and support from groups we trust. I'm proud to have earned their support and that of the hard-working men and women these groups represent. I have the support of 4 city councilors and Mayor Piercy, County Commissioner Pete Sorensen, school board members, state legislators, and business leaders. I am endorsed by Oregon League of Conservation Voters, Sierra Club, Mayoral Pro-Choice, Basic Rights Oregon, and the Lane Democratic Party. Working men and women in the trades, in home health care, and in our city workplaces have endorsed me. I am running a grassroots campaign and have canvassed over 1,000 doors myself. I have had one-on-one meetings with 200 business leaders, educators, and community leaders, and raised funds from 400 donors. These people are placing their trust in me for my communication skills, honesty, accountability, and transparency that I bring to the work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Stefan Strek.
Well, thank you all for coming here today. This has been a ton of fun. This is the most fun I've had since high school, honestly. Really. And I just want to say that if you all want to really put Eugene on the map, because there are people listening in from Shanghai to London, because they're my friends, and I've told them that Eugene's the greatest city in the world. And they're going to come here. They're going to spend money. They're going to spend a lot of money. And the people of Eugene are going to make a lot of money. So if you all want to be winners, that's the way to be it. You vote Strek. Winners vote Strek every time. We're going to help the people. We're going to help the animals. We're going to take the animals that smell bad. We're going to clean them up. We're going to make them not smell bad anymore. We're going to get the vet students. We're going to set up a place where they can come in, take care of homeless people's animals. It's going to be great. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be effective. It's going to help everyone in town, because when people see people on the street that are not sad, it makes us all happy. To have happy dogs, happy cats, that's the way to have a great city, the best city in the world, Eugene, Oregon. Thank you very much.
Mike Clark.
One of the things that I'm proud of is that I have support in my campaign from all over our community, from the north part of our community, and the south part of our community, and the west and the east parts of our community, from the left, the right, and the north and the south. And this is about, after 10 years of service on the council and a couple other years of service on every committee, I have a better understanding of where the center, where the appropriate balance of our community is, where the common sense middle exists. And that's what I want to try and help facilitate. This race is kind of a fundamental question. If you think things are going perfectly, there's a candidate for you that will probably try to make them continue going exactly as they are. If you think our community could use a subtle shift of emphasis, I would like to be that candidate. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Bob Cassidy.
I would like for you to vote for me in this election. I'd also like to see a city with a $15 minimum wage for our city employees and the people that work for the city. I'd like to see the renewal of the Eugene Celebration Parade done at the Eugene Springfield celebration parade, one-day affair run entirely by the volunteers, for the volunteers. I'd like to see a performance auditor for the city. I'd like to see the E-Web building used for the city hall. And of course, I'd like apple pie for everyone. With ice cream.
Thank you. And Scott Lansdale.
Well, I would like to be done with the city management form of government. That is a long-term issue that I would work very conscientiously with. We have a good manager, but I think we've grown beyond that concept, and I'd like to see what we have next. This has been an experiment in grassroots and fundraising. I think my first goal was to make sure that the election went to November when the largest number of people would be voting, and I think I have accomplished that. I'm pleased. I'm getting a lot of surprise support. I remember 1,000,001 between Piercy Tory at one point, and I looked on the Secretary of State's website the other day, and I seen that about 100,000 has been raised in Mayoral so far. I want to cut that off right now, and I just want the 5 of us to start having fundraisers for some of these things we've been talking about today as soon as possible. Let's use our bully pulpit to raise some profits and nonprofit money.
Thank you. That concludes this hour with the candidates running for Mayor of Eugene, brought to you by the City Club of Eugene, League of Women Voters, Lane County, and KLCC. Please join me in thanking Mike Clark, Bob Cassidy, Scott Lansdale,
City Club would like to thank our sponsors one more time: AARP of Oregon, KLCC, Evans Elder Brown Incorporated. Join the League of Women Voters on Tuesday, April 12th at 7:30 p.m. for the Candidate Forum Eugene City Council Ward 1 at the First Methodist Church on Olive Street. Additional information about these programs will be available on the City Club's website. Thank you for your time. And let's give a round of applause.
Go ahead. Is it too late to start writing?